Are suburbs doomed with traffic? Contrary to the amount of urbanism videos popping up on the internet, more people than ever are living in the suburbs in America. As the suburbs grow, they will need to figure out where to house all these people and how they will get around. The way that most places are addressing this is by building more suburbs and sprawling out even farther. This is the Houston, Vegas way of doing things. There's plenty of "one more lane bro" and strobe discourse around this already. Obviously, by pushing more people outward, they will need to drive everywhere for all their needs. By traveling for longer distances and adding more cars to the road, we will have longer commutes and travel times. The average American commute has been increasing over time, and living further away certainly doesn't help. So, is the alternative to urbanize the suburbs and add more density, transit, bike lanes, and sidewalks? Well, that might not be a straightforward solution either. Some suburbs are already facing this reality of urbanizing. Boomburbs are suburbs that grew and developed enough to resemble more of a core city. Across from Lake Washington, Bellevue is one of those boomburbs. In downtown, you can see the urban form taking shape, with high-rises galore and plenty of new construction on the horizon. Mid-rise residential and mixed use are also in the area, with new urbanist vibes all around their downtown park. There's also a public transit station downtown with a new light rail expansion ready to go online on the horizon. There's certainly some decent urban form to be found, but once you get to an intersection, things begin to fall apart. A lot of the intersections and roads that cut through downtown Bellevue are wide, with many roads being 5 lanes or more. Long intersection crossings and long wait times between red lights really slow down your ability to walk through the area when going block to block. And the moment you walk outward from downtown, shit drops off real quick, and you're reminded again that you are indeed in a suburb. Why do cities like Bellevue have a hard time shedding their suburban character? And how come these boomburbs have a hard time recreating some of the desirable characteristics of established urban neighborhoods? Walkability is a core tenet of desirable urban character because it enables alternatives to driving like transit and biking to be viable. And the conditions of walkability depend on the scale and connectivity of the street network. A well-connected network of streets with smaller city blocks allows for people to walk in a more direct path to their destination, and narrower streets make intersections easier to cross. Frequent intersections improve traffic safety because they slow down cars, preventing them from reaching homicidal speeds that are common in suburban arterials. Walkability enables transit-oriented development to occur, because now you can easily walk or bike to that transit station or directly to your destination, meaning fewer people inside cars stuck in traffic. Seattle has been pretty good in this regard. Despite continuous population growth in the past decade, traffic volumes in the city has not seen a parallel increase. Walking has been an integral part of making this happen, thanks to Seattle's well-connected street network and transit-oriented development. So what's stopping suburbs from having good street networks then? Before Bellevue became a boomburb, it was an ordinary suburb. A bedroom community with a sprawling style of expansion on former agricultural and rural land. Like with most rural land, the arterial road network splits the land into large blocks, and within these blocks, developments cropped up in subdivisions. This piecemeal style of development of housing in these subdivisions created isolated pockets of residential streets full of dead ends, cul-de-sacs, and winding circuitous lanes, many without sidewalks. Even adjacent subdivisions will not have a connection between one another. This trail in Bellevue doesn't connect with the subdivision built right next to it on either side. All traffic, including pedestrians and vehicles, end up funneled to the arterial roads, creating longer and indirect routes for everyone. Because of this design, it creates a large dependence on cars to get around. To double down on this, highway construction was going on in the mid-20th century that weaved through and split through the region. Much of the developments in the suburbs are built right up against the highway and interchanges, which break apart the street network connectivity. This enabled auto-oriented growth by clustering office, commercial, industrial, and multifamily housing with a blast radius of parking. The highway-oriented style of development created destinations that are also car-dependent. All these factors culminate to an auto-centric lifestyle that's hard to retrofit with walkability and transit in mind. Just upzoning land doesn't make a place walkable or ripe for good transit-oriented development. When we just upzone land without a walkable street network, it creates dense developments that are still car-centric. Just look at these signs. Every new land use sign has crazy amounts of designated parking. This one has a garage with 5 stories, and this one has over 1,000 new parking lots ready for it. The road in this area isn't getting any wider once these new buildings are built. So how is it going to handle all this extra traffic that these thousands of new parking spots will generate? You can't just redo this existing network of streets into something walkable without basically leveling whole sections in neighborhoods and starting from scratch. So you're basically left with this compounding traffic situation. This could have been avoided if sprawl maintained the dense and well-connected urban form as we built outward. Instead of having disjointed subdivisions, public right-of-ways could have split up the subdivisions, creating smaller walkable city blocks that would have connected subdivisions together. Since these new streets would connect to arterials, this opens up opportunities for more frequent crosswalks and intersections that connect blocks together. Trying to convert the existing suburban street network into something that is well connected would require radical change. Suburban residents would need to get serious about redesigning their street network and connecting missing links in residential subdivisions that could facilitate urban growth without a tragic ballooning of new vehicles on the road. But not everyone in the suburbs sees it this way. There are a good amount of people who would want nothing to do with cities and will push back against anything that would enable urbanization. I feel like this could be illustrated by the type of people who push back against projects like the new light rail expansion. Enter Alex Zimmerman, the local city curmudgeon running for a position in Bellevue City Council, a loser with a long career of never winning political office.
Sieg Heil, Seattle Commie Nazi Fascist. Sieg Heil, Seattle Council and Mayor are fascist and clown, are crazy Nazi Gestapo garbage rats from Animal Farm. I am Alex Zimmerman, speak to you, Seattle Emerald degenerate super smart freaking idiot, with Nazi socialist, Democrat and anti-Semite principle.
But you are raised up in like a bandito, you know what I mean? Because you support Iranian Muslim too. It is because American help is Mike. Alex, you can't make racist, inappropriate comments like that, especially about clearly coded about a political opponent. So that is clearly a violation of our rules. I'm going to ask you to step away. I'm going to ask you to step away from the mic. You are money. You think Iran war will be cheaper for people? Billions. No.
Wow, that sucked. You can always count on Alex to show up in transit meetings and act like a dumbass in public. It also doesn't help that a certain well-connected, wealthy developer worked against transit expansion into the few somewhat walkable areas in the city. Kemper Freeman Jr. is a real estate developer, and he joined in on a lawsuit trying to stop Sound Transit from building light rail on existing car lanes on a highway bridge. He ended up losing that lawsuit. It's kinda strange that he would be so anti-rail since Kemper Freeman Jr. inherited and owns a bunch of downtown developments in Bellevue and would seek to benefit from the light rail expansion. But once you start digging into the Kemper Freeman family's history and some of Kemper's past remarks, things begin to clear up why he would be so opposed to rail going through downtown. His grandfather, Miller Freeman, is a businessman and politician, the most sinister combo, and he pushed for anti-immigration legislation and the internment of Japanese Americans. Much of the land in downtown Bellevue was farmland primarily owned by Japanese American farmers. But once they were sent off to internment camps, the land was basically taken over by people like Freeman and redeveloped. Miller Freeman and his son, Kemper Freeman Sr., built a suburban mall on this land, and from there began to build out their real estate portfolio. Kemper Jr., now sitting at the top of Kemper Development Company, is a reminder of how our ugly past is directly connected to our ugly present. The reality is that the majority of Bellevue and suburbs generally will never be built out into the cities that urbanists gush about. It's easy to get bogged down with pessimism, but there are pockets of opportunity that can be found in the ocean sprawl and questionable real estate heirs. The people of Bellevue have voted in council members like Claudia Balducci, who supports pro-transit and housing policies. The bus service here was something that was a pleasant surprise. They were getting some decent usage and were relatively reliable. I guess buses benefit from autocentrism in a strange way, since they can navigate through the over-engineered arterials built for cars. Building a robust bus system could be the key to stitching together and connecting subdivisions and destinations in the suburbs. There is a decent amount of multifamily housing and a fairly diverse, vibrant family vibe in the city. More people than I expected were walking despite the hostility to pedestrians with the road designs. There are some new developments that try to emulate good urban form like the Spring District in Bellevue, though it's basically limited to one arterial block and the roads that surround it are kinda nuts. Despite the obstacles in the way, there are people in suburbia who do understand and are working to make things change for the better, so maybe there's hope for a better future.